Okay, I'm back here with the fourth and final part, I hope. Now we're going to look at the worst decisions of WWE this past year, and I agree there have been some very bad decisions. The first one, of course, again has to start with CM Punk. I mean, literally, you take essentially what is your number two, if not at times during 2000. I say you take basically your number two, if not at times during 2012, your number one babyface in CM Punk, and you turn him heel for what reason? What, so he can feud with The Rock? You had John Cena as a babyface and he feuded with The Rock. For a whole year they built up to that match. And John Cena was a babyface. And yet you feel the need, and yet WWE feels the need to switch CM Punk because what? CM Punk's not going to be over with the fans? Is that it? I mean, give me a blankety-blank break. Okay, give me a blankety-blank break. I mean, first of all, let me put it to you like this. If you're going to switch somebody, have a good reason to. Don't just have them do something that a lot of other people have done before. And that's say, I want respect. I'm disrespected kind of deal. I mean, it doesn't work. And a lot of people are still cheering the guy. They want to cheer him. Yeah, you put him with Paul Heyman, what, so you can get more heel heat? I mean, it still doesn't work. People still want to cheer him. They still want to cheer him because of one reason. One solitary reason. Because he is because he's exactly what he says he is at times. He's a great wrestler. He's one of the best they have. And and he's basically somebody that no one thought would ever get to this level. And yet, again, you want to make him into a heel because of what, The Rock? I mean, I understand you want to build towards CM Punk and The Rock at the Rumble in the next few weeks. I get that. But if you're going to do that, ladies and gentlemen, you need to have a legit reason as to why you're turning him heel. You can't just have the reason of, The Rock, for him to feud with The Rock. No, you gotta have a real legit reason. I mean, heck, reports are going around that even Vince McMahon is starting to consider pulling the plug on the heel turn. I mean, you realize how much do you realize how hold on for a second, folks. Sorry about that. I had to wait for the light to change and I had somebody coming across the back of me. But anyway, like I said, you could have easily had him feuding with The Rock the way you had Cena feud with him. And with CM Punk being as outspoken as he is, come on. It would have, come on. I know we're going to have some great promos between the two, but come on. As a babyface, he could have done even better. And now, to quote Jeff Siegel, the Schleg Daddy, and Off the Rope show, you've basically turned him heel for the reason not only to feud with The Rock, but just to make him a chicken. a cowardly chicken, blank. You know what I'm saying? Chicken shit. That's what you did. That's essentially what you did with him. You turned him into a chicken. You turned him into a coward. If you would have kept him babyface and even still had him face someone like Ryback, CM Punk would have been the kind of guy would come out and say, yeah, I might get my butt kicked, I might get my ass kicked and all that by Ryback, but if I'm going to go out at Hell in a Cell, well, I'm going to go out fighting. Or if it's going to be my last night as champion, I'm going to go out as champion fighting. But still, you had to turn him into a coward. And then you basically start having him be associated in some ways with a rogue referee and Brad Maddox. And as Chris Jericho quoted them, a small NWO wannabe group in the Shield. Now, I should have mentioned this in the last video, that the Shield is probably one of the best booking decisions they've made, because they are giving a lot of young guys that opportunity, that spotlight, that main event status. But, to me, it's more along the lines of you're giving them this opportunity. You're giving them opportunity after opportunity. But you should have found a different way to bring them in. Don't bring them in as a group. Don't bring them in to possibly associate with CM Punk, because everybody knows it's stupid. And again, this all ties back to turning CM Punk heel. It's one of the worst decisions you could have ever made, in my honest opinion. One of the worst decisions. And speaking of worst, this ties into another thing I said in the best thing of WWE. I said the best thing WWE did was John Cena this past year. Whether people agree with that or not. But one of the worst things during that whole situation was Cena kind of had an off year, if you will, on and off year, is you had him lose to Johnny Ace, of all people. A guy that had not been wrestling for who knows how long. You had him lose to Johnny fucking Ace. And how do you have him lose? You have him lose by turning Big Show heel. Yeah, I agree. Big Show's a natural heel no matter how many times you do it. But you basically turn him heel by having John Cena lose, by having him help Johnny Ace defeat John Cena. This is the way I look at it. You could have had Big Show turn heel, but you could have had Cena beat Johnny Ace. You could have had him beat John Laurinaitis. You could have had him do that. You could have had Show come in, bring Laurinaitis back to the ring like he did, knock Laurinaitis out, let Cena pin him, and then have Show beat John Laurinaitis. You could have done it in a draw. You could have had Show knock them both out. Had an end in a draw. And why do you do this? What? So you could set up a miniature or small-time Big Show versus John Cena feud again? Something that we had seen before? And I agree. Each match is a little bit different, and sometimes the matches are better than what we've seen before. I agree on that, but just because you want to do a miniature feud between Cena and Show, all because the following month you are going to have Cena beat Show in the steel cage and have John Laurinaitis lose? Again, doesn't make a lick of sense. It's a stupid decision. I could understand if perhaps, like I said, you did it as a draw, had Show knock them both out. I get that. I can understand that. But still. It was just a stupid decision to do that. And for what reason? Just because you could have Cena come back the next month, as Jeff said on the Off the Rope show, to have him beat Big Show in a steel cage and cause John Laurinaitis to be fired that way? Doesn't make any damn sense. Honestly, it doesn't. Doesn't make any damn sense. In my honest opinion, it doesn't. I mean, if I'm the WWE, I gotta reevaluate who I book, how I book and everything. And again, it just doesn't make a lick of sense. Not to me, not to anybody. And I think the WWE realizes that. Another bad decision they made this year as well was the whole AJ thing. I mean, I like AJ. They had the potential to have her be the catalyst, be the face that were going to help reignite the Divas division. And yeah, you have that possibility now in Caitlyn, but AJ, I was hoping would be that spark, would be that ignition, would be that reigniting, but she wasn't. AJ wasn't. Instead, you have her going from Daniel Bryan to Kane, to CM Punk, to John Cena, and now to Dolph. And then you book her to be the general manager of Raw. And instead of booking her as someone that's like, okay, I'm going to be the general manager, and I've agreed that if I'm going to be general manager, I'm going to get some help. I'm going to get some psychiatry or some therapy. Instead, you book her as some people said, an 11-year-old girl. Oh, as a little 11-year-old girl that has all this power and everything, and does whatever she wants, and nobody knows what she's up to. Essentially what you did, and to quote NJ of the British Fist, you booked her as a slut throughout the entire year. I mean, yes, she can wrestle. Yes, there were times she's an interesting character, because you never knew what she was going to do. But truthfully, good God, ladies and gentlemen, you could have easily avoided all this, WWE, but you had to book her this way. You couldn't just say, okay, we're going to break AJ off of Daniel Bryan now, and we're going to have her be the spark that's going to reignite interest in the Divas division. No, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. And how do you end the year with AJ? How do you end her year? By having her turn heel and siding with Dolph Ziggler. And now that I've gotten some of the worst out of the way, that's just, and if you know any more, let me know. Let's talk about the possibilities of what to look forward to and some of the questionable decisions. In other words, let's take a look at some of the turns, if you will. We had several heel and face turns this year. Three notable ones I want to talk about are Vicky, Miz, and Del Rio. I know a lot of people are unsure about these three. A lot of people are unsure whether or not they can work well as baby faces. Well, I still think Vicky, I think, is going to be what is known as a heelish face. In other words, she'll still have those heel tendencies. She'll still kind of get booed out of the arena. Well, according to one person, she wasn't as booed as much in a house show in Detroit, Michigan, but still, very recently, but still. I feel she'll be a face, but it'll be kind of that heelish face. As far as Miz and Del Rio, I think they can be established as faces. I think they can really work well. And especially when you have Miz team up with John Cena, and then I guess off camera have Cena say, hey, Christmas is a time for forgiveness with Del Rio. For Del Rio, I mean, it's like, what more can you ask for? Huh? What more of an endorsement can you ask for? So, to me, I agree they did everything they could. They did everything they could with them. And we'll just have to see how the face turns work out this year in 2013, if they're going to last or if they're not. And that's all I'm going to say on my best and worst of WWE and TNA, or TNA and WWE. Comment down below. Comment down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.